This week on Engage the Sage.
Hi everyone, I'm Don Sauce here. Welcome to this week's episode of Engage the Sage. This week, I'm going to talk to you about some things we might be doing as instructors that are disengaging our students. Usually when we do these videos, I like to promote the positive behaviors. I like to talk about the things we should be doing. This week's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about some of those things maybe we shouldn't do. To get the content for this video, we surveyed our students and our colleagues about behaviors that instructors do that might be disengaging their students. Specifically, we asked them to fill in the blanks in the if you blank, then your students are probably not engaged. And as you will see, they gave us a lot of answers. As you're also going to see, some of these answers are a little bit contradictory. That's probably reflecting different student preferences about what they want their instructors to do. But what we're going to share with you are some thematically grouped examples of things that we might be doing as instructors that are disengaging our students. I'll add that I love that one of my students qualified their responses by saying they weren't talking about me. Others, I think, are definitely talking about me. So without further ado, here are about 50 ways to disengage your students. Show up to class late or end class early. Be unorganized or unprepared. Have technical difficulties. Take too long during announcements and review. That one might be me. Don't use slides or helpful visuals. Sit while teaching, stand while teaching, or stand in one spot while teaching. Go off topic on tangents or constantly lose their train of thought. Don't allow your students to interact. This next one's definitely me, and that's teach a class that starts before 10:30 a.m. Don't dress professionally, also me. And I'll point out in the last video I wore a button-down shirt. Be clearly hungover. That one's definitely not me, but oh my God. Be unknowledgeable about what you're teaching. State you don't know what you'll be learning about or discussing in your class that day. Do not give real-world or personal examples about the content. Present content without a story or a narrative to provide context. Don't tell jokes. Don't provide opportunities to apply knowledge outside of class. Never talk about yourself as a person. Be too formal. Obviously, not me. Be unpersonable. Be unrelatable. Laugh at your own jokes. I think if your jokes are hilarious, you should get to do that. Say your class is too easy or say your class is too hard. Make your expectations too low or make your expectations too high. So we got to get it just right. Don't show that you care about your students' learning. Go through your content too quickly. Force participation or call on your students randomly. Don't encourage your students to think. Never ask your students questions. Ask vague or rhetorical questions or answer your own questions. Don't leave time for questions. Don't stop to check on your students' learning and understanding. Don't pause to let students take notes. Regurgitate the information the students already read for class that day. Don't validate your students' answers or attempts to participate in your class. Dominate your discussions. Disrespect, humiliate, or speak condescendingly about your students. Don't give feedback. Don't get to know your students. Don't make eye contact with your students. Don't clarify things when students look confused. Underestimate your students. Don't reiterate things or say things in different ways. Be unempathetic to your students' needs. Don't seem to care about your students' physical and mental well-being. Don't share your desire with your students that you want them to learn. Speak in a monotone voice. Mumble and or talk extremely fast. This one's me, and I'll tell you that teaching with a mask hasn't helped. I tell my students when they watch videos of me, don't watch them at 1.5 speed because I already talk at 1.5 speed. So sorry to all y'all watching. That one's me. Assume your students know what you're talking about. Read your PowerPoint slides word for word. And by the way, that one showed up a lot in our responses. Overload your students with content. Put tons of words and information on slides. Teach directly from the textbook. Don't add excited, passionate, or engaged. Tell your students the content is boring. And I think we told you recently not to do that one. And tell or imply to your students that you don't want to teach them this content. So in looking across those 50-ish ways to disengage your students, I saw some common themes come out. And in those themes, I can boil down the summary to about one sentence. If you are not bringing peace to your class and to your students, you are probably disengaging your students. As we've talked about before, PEACE is an acronym that stands for preparation, expertise, authenticity, caring, and engagement. And if you were kind of following along, you saw that we saw clumps of items, clumps of responses that represented people not being prepared, not being expert, not being authentic, not caring, and not being engaged. So what we're seeing is that when our students do not see us bring that peace, when it's not palpable to them, they expect to be disengaged in our classes. Now the cool part is that's an easy fix, I think. Check out the videos we have on peace and concentrate on intentionally and every single day showing your students your preparation, your expertise, your authenticity, your caring, and your engagement, and they will be more likely to be engaged in what you're teaching and more likely to learn what you are teaching. So now our goal, we're going to bring peace and try not to do those 50 things. Except maybe for a couple of those that I'm guilty of that I'm probably going to keep doing. So don't expect me to dress that much more professionally in the classes coming up. I like my t-shirts. In the comments below, I would love to hear your answers about the best ways to disengage our students with the idea that then if we don't do those things, we'll be more engaging and more excellent in our teaching and our learning in our classes. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Engage the Sage. Please like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, share us on social media, and we'll see you next time on Engage the Sage.